With a brand value of 154.9 billion US dollars and worldwide revenue of 19.2 billion US dollars, McDonald's seems to dominate the fast food market. Thanks to its 39,198 restaurants worldwide, it has become the world's largest fast food restaurant chain. McDonald's has consistently led this market segment in terms of overall sales and number of restaurants worldwide, followed by Starbucks and Subway. But when you go through the annual report of McDonald's, something seems to be odd. It's the nature of the business. Ray Kroc, who built McDonald's into the fast food giant it is today, famously said, quote, "I am not in the hamburger business. My business is real estate." Unquote. It was his lawyer who advised him to enter the real estate business. McDonald's is actually a real estate empire hiding under the guise of a fast food chain. In its 2020 financial report, the company reported $41 billion worth of assets in property and equipment before accounting for depreciation, making it the 7th largest real estate company in the world, even if we were to deduct the $3.5 billion worth of equipment from the total $41 billion figure. McDonald's real estate assets are the main reason behind its phenomenal and sustained success, and that makes it a super interesting business case study. The company keeps about 82% of the revenue generated by the franchisees, compared with only about 16% of the revenue from its company-operated locations, which is reduced by the expenses of running those operations. So how did what seems like a restaurant come to hold $41 billion of real estate, and how do these land holdings fit in the overall scheme of McDonald's business model? According to McDonald's, more than 90% of its restaurants are franchised. That means the vast majority of its restaurants are not company owned and operated. Rather, franchisees take up the burden and risk of setting up a restaurant and selling burgers and fries to customers. Meanwhile, McDonald's can sit back and collect money from its franchisees. Franchisees pay McDonald's in several ways. First, a one-time upfront payment of around $45,000 to $50,000 to start the franchise. Also, franchisees are expected to foot much of the bill to start up the restaurant. The initial investment can be upwards of $1 or $2 million. Second, a monthly royalty fee of 3 to 4% of the gross sales. And third, the rent, as McDonald's often owns the land and buildings that the franchisees use for their restaurants. Most franchises work by licensing out the right to use the company's trademark, the right to run a business as an extension of a larger corporation. Franchisees pay royalties to franchisor as a fee for the right to operate. Some support for the facility comes from the corporate, and the franchisee must operate the business according to the corporation's strategy. But McDonald's started doing things a little differently almost from the beginning. The company started franchising in 1956 with a clear vision of using property to accrue wealth, not just fast food sales. Ever since then, the method has remained virtually unchanged. They also give a lot of significance to the location of the franchise. A corner location with the option to put up signs visible from two major streets is considered optimal, as is a site near a major intersection with traffic signals. Ample parking space is required and must meet all the applicable local parking codes. Size and space requirements are adapted for malls, airports, and some downtown locations. If a location fails to meet their expectations, they can either find a new franchise after the contract has expired or simply sell the land to someone else entirely at a significant profit. Furthermore, the McDonald's franchising scheme serves as a buffer zone between the existing real estate empire and the overtly noticeable fast food activity. Meanwhile, suppliers around the world ensure McDonald's high-capacity operation. In 2019, McDonald's made a huge profit of $6 billion from $21 billion in revenue. A 28.5% is an astoundingly high profit margin for a restaurant. $9.4 billion came from the 7% of the locations they still own, but those locations cost them almost $6 billion in direct expenses. If you add on the rest of the company's operations, that number starts going negative. So where did the $6 billion in net income come from? Well, just look at the other part of the revenue. It came from one very high profitable source, the fees of franchise owners. The total sales for an average location clocked in at $2.7 million per store each year, with $1.7 million in gross profits after accounting for food and paper costs. But then there are also other expenses: rent, payroll, advertising, promotions, operating supplies, insurance, and more. The average rent per store amounts to about 20% of gross profits each year for franchisees. The company has more than 36,000 locations across more than 100 countries, so that adds up quickly. Better put, McDonald's has more than $30 billion in real estate assets and annual profits that float around 4.5 billion US dollars, according to the company's financial disclosures. And not to forget their 52.627 billion US dollars worth of total assets. McDonald's will use its market advantage to win deals because it owns the property and has long-term leases. As analysts have noted, this is similar to a subscription model, in which the subscriber pays a fixed monthly fee. The chain kept expanding and McDonald's real estate business kept growing. They expanded domestically and internationally, reaching 10,000 outlets by 1988. By the 21st century, they had 35,000 outlets in more than 100 countries, with one McDonald's opening every 5 hours. The advantage of this model is that the revenue stream, be it rent and royalty income received from the franchisees, is far more stable and most importantly predictable, while the operating costs are measurably lower, allowing for an easier path to profitability. McDonald's, because it has control over the land and long-term leases, can leverage its market position to negotiate deals. The biggest trump card of franchising appears to be the reduction of risk you will be taking for your investment. This is because franchises typically get up and run faster and are profitable more quickly. This can be a result of a better management as well as a well-known name. According to Small Business Administration, most small businesses fail because of weak management. It is in this area that the franchising option shines the most. Being in real estate business also helps McDonald's earn more income and somewhat diversify its portfolio. Buying properties and leasing them to franchisees is a clever way of effectively doubling the income earned from franchisees. And for the other properties they don't lease out to franchisees, they can always rent them to someone else or simply flip them for a profit. As prices inflate, so does the amount paid in rent to corporate, while corporates' fixed payments on property stay the same. The result is a long-term reliable positive cash flow. An average of 20% of income from sales goes to rent. Lease clauses often stipulate a minimum amount so that there is always something coming in. Even when sales slow down, that rental income remains constant. Of course, if franchisee demands dry up due to shrinking profit opportunities or McDonald's leaning too heavily on its franchisees, then this model breaks. That's the key risk for McDonald's. Citing the same reason, in 2015, a group of investors advised McDonald's to split its real estate business into a new company. But the company, however, decided not to, stating that the property model was something that made them so unique. But for now, it looks like despite rising competition, McDonald's is navigating things successfully.